The original ZF grip looks much better than the one from SmallRig. I didn't know that. Hi, and thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Furk, aka Phil, and since the Nikon ZF is quite popular on YouTube right now, I thought it would be fun to look at some YouTube comments from Nikon ZF videos and also comment and share my experience based on these comments. Alright, then let's start with the first one. This was the review from the Monochrome Memoirs. I had the same setup, Z8, main and ZF as a second body. I had the grip as I ordered it when I pre-ordered the body. The grip helps a lot, though still not as nice as the Z8. Love this camera for sure, and it's a much better body than the Z6, which I sold my Z6 II day after I pre-ordered this, and glad I did it. I can only agree regarding this comment. The ZF is my first and only Nikon camera, but regarding the aesthetics and the fun factor, it's definitely what I also feel about this camera. Regarding the grip, I feel that the topics of ergonomics is a lot on this camera, and I agree with this comment because the grip helps definitely, but if you compare it with modern cameras, which in my opinion doesn't have to because this is a retro camera, modern cameras sure feel much more ergonomic. Let's move to the next one. I'm enjoying the ZF. I had no intention of buying this camera because of the style. However, the features in this camera are such an upgrade over the Z6 Mark II, it was hard to turn it down. At $2,000 it is a great price. I do have the additional grip on my camera and it helps greatly. I must note that the grip will not be as good as the grip on the Z6 Mark II. I've gotten used to it and it works for me. I pre-ordered it the days it was announced because I knew this camera was going to sell quickly. Also here I can only agree because I had the same experience. When I saw the first previews about the ZF, I had no intention to buy this camera, but after some weeks before it was launching, my interest grew since the ZF is just a unique camera on the market right now, especially since it's full frame. And I also pre-ordered mine after some weeks of thought because I also thought this camera will sell out quickly. And if you look at the availability of this camera right now, everyone is right about this camera. So the next one, I love the ZF. I use the same ZF-Z8 combo coming from the Z6 Mark II. That 40mm f2 lens is surprisingly good. I love it for the engagements, family and personal work. I have found that the grip helps me hold the camera properly in my left hand, balancing right on the mount rather than trying to hold it one hand in the right, which leads to having a sore hand at the end of the wedding. I agree about the screen, but I have found that it has allowed me to get some crazy angles close to walls and to sneak some shots while looking a different direction. Also here, fully agree. I myself have the kit combo with the 40mm f2. This pairs perfectly with the Nikon ZF and the optics is also just great. And I like these comments because these are coming from ZF owners and they are also putting them into professional work. Unlike me, I'm just using this as a hobbyist. Alright, then let's move to the next video. These are comments from Omar Gonzalez video, and here it's quite interesting because I have the feeling that a lot of comments in general about the Nikon ZF are like these. I committed to the ZF and loving the tactile feel, and this is coming from the Fujifilm X-T5. While there's nothing wrong with the X-T5, what I find in the ZF does is it makes you want to go out and shoot more often. There's something nostalgic about this camera, harkening back to the film days. And yes, I can fully understand the idea of this comment, because Nikon has, just like Leica and Canon, very long history about cameras and the cameras they build. Based on that, yeah, you feel somehow connected if you pick up the Nikon ZF and just want to go out and shoot. Since I'm not a Fujifilm user, I don't know regarding that part, because Fujifilm also builds amazing retro cameras, and these cameras, for me personally, I would also assume that I want to pick it up and go out to shoot. Next one also quite interesting. I absolutely don't need it, but the minute I saw it for the first time, my mouth was watering. I lost the battle to gas a long time ago, so the heck. I bought this ZF, and honestly, what a fantastic camera for the price. You're right, it is uncomfortable to hold, it is very heavy, but the build quality is great and I appreciate a well-built camera, and with the hand grip it improves a lot and becomes less uncomfortable to hold. This is my new all-around camera. I like it with the small 28 and 40 lenses, and I will also use the ZF with my Vogtländer manual focus lenses from the Nikon Zf film cameras with the f2Z Mark II adapter. Great combo. I feel this comment because, first of all, a lot of these comments from all these videos have a similar touch, and second of all, I felt the same. In the beginning I was not interested in this camera, and then again also lost the battle to gas because I also bought a lot of cameras, and then just added the ZF, and I appreciate, as already mentioned in this comment, the high build quality. For me personally, it's also too bulky and heavy, and as several times already mentioned, uncomfortable to hold, but yeah, it still has its own quality. And I also combined the ZF, as already mentioned, with the 40mm and the 28mm videos you can find in the corner. When I bought my 28mm, the ZF has a great feature for manual focus lenses where it recognizes the subject. I personally didn't use it yet, but looks like it's working great. This comment I also somehow connect, and just switched the video to ZF. The Sony colors are not great. Thanks a lot for this very informative video. I've just downgraded from X-T3 to Xe4, so I've had my gas fix. I would need a lighter option similar to the Sony A7IV Mark II to switch to Nikon for my use cases, enthusiast travel and city dweller. And I understand this comment because the setup of the Nikon ZF with the body only is already quite big and relatively heavy. And the only solution you have to keep that setup kind of compact is the SE lenses, the 28mm and the 40mm f2. And besides that, I think there's only one smaller lens, that's the 26mm pancake lens, and all other lenses in the portfolio of Nikon, they are quite big, especially when you go to zoom lenses. Yeah, that's my personal gripe right now with the Nikon system, and hope that Nikon will release more smaller lenses to fit this ZF body to keep it relatively small. Next video is from Pushing Film. I have to admit that this is the first Nikon camera in many years to get my attention. It just hits all the good points for me, and the black and white switch, genius, so much cheaper than mono only cameras. Great video, Hashem. And let me combine this with the second comment. When I ordered my ZF, I thought the black and white switch was massively gimmicky. However, I found myself shooting black and white way more with the ZF. Well played, Nikon. And here also I can just only agree on, based on my experience. In general, I was never interested into Nikon cameras. For me personally, it was because of the autofocus system. Canon and Sony were always ahead in that game, followed somehow by Fujifilm, but I think Fujifilm just got in the last iteration better with the X-T5 lineup. And every time when you look at Nikon reviews, the most downside of these cameras were the autofocus, and that was the main reason why I was never interested in the Nikon system. This has changed since the Nikon Z9 and Z8 has been released, but these cameras' price tag is just too high for me. And with the ZF, Nikon just delivered extremely well regarding the autofocus, and that's one of the reasons why I was interested in the Nikon ZF, besides the retro design. And that black and white switch, I mentioned that in my videos earlier already. Great move from Nikon. I use that every day. I'm a person who likes to shoot black and white, and therefore just genius. So next comment from that video. This video was perfectly timed for me. I have a Sony A7IV for the last year and a half or so after switching away from Fuji. Ever since then I've missed my Fuji but enjoyed being on a full frame. Now I have a ZF in the box at home and can't decide if I'm keeping it and selling the Sony or not. Yes, I can also feel this comment because I owned a Sony A7IV also previously, and the reason why I sold my Sony stuff was, first of all, I was starting to get interested in Leica systems. These are quite expensive and I needed to fund them, but also the Sony system, yeah, a lot of curators already mentioned that they feel more like computers, small computers to take pictures of. The results are just amazing, but somehow me personally didn't feel connected regarding putting in the work for photography. And that's why I was also looking into Fujifilm, or as I already mentioned, Leica. Therefore I can understand why this commenter misses the Fujifilm since switching, but of course Fujifilm doesn't offer full frame, and therefore I guess is why he or she bought the ZF. Yes, this is also something I already mentioned, that Nikon created a retro camera which Fujifilm will never deliver. It's a retro full frame camera and just fits the market gap and why a lot of people are interested in this, I guess. And therefore I fully understand why you might consider selling your Sony stuff to buy this one, especially if you feel like not having fun with your Sony stuff for photography and looking for something more tactile and has a heritage regarding photography or film photography. Next one is also something I really agree. Not being to use the aperture control rings of old Nikon lenses on the ZF is a real bummer. Third-party lenses like those from Vogtländer and Carl Zeiss adapt better to ZF vintage design. Yes, aperture rings, something Nikon doesn't offer right now in their lens lineup. Especially with these retro designs, it would be amazing if you have aperture ring to complete the retro nostalgic feel, but that's something we don't have right now. I guess Nikon might reconsider to add aperture rings to these lenses if they see that the ZF is a top seller. Therefore I hope for one thing that they will release something like that in the future, but I think I will be also bummed a bit. That would mean that I want to sell my SE lenses just to get the aperture rings. Next video is from Zavitz. Man, I'm so tempted to buy this camera to replace my Fuji system, but I really hate this vlog style LCD screen, so I'm not sure yet. I hate that it sticks out to the side of the camera when I want to use it like a waist down looking camera. Yes, this discussion about the flip out screen is just a discussion that will never end, I guess, until camera brands implement the solution of Sony's A7IV, where you can have the flip out and the flip up screen in one. Until that point, I think the discussion will never end. In my opinion, the flip out screen and flip up screen is just a matter of preference. If you look at the Fuji community, they celebrated the comeback of the flip up screen on the X-T5. If you look at people who are filming themselves, they just want that flip out screen. So just pick what fits your needs. Nikon decided on the ZF for the flip out screen. This is also the first flip out screen they integrated in their cameras. For me personally, it works. I have nothing against it, but I also understand regarding the idea of using a flip up screen to shoot from the waist. I have that on the Leica Q3, for example, and I can totally understand the preference for that. But yeah, if the flip out screen is a knockout criteria for you, the ZF is not for you. This comment is really also very interesting, since it looked like the user was a previous Nikon user. I sold all my Z gears 2 years ago, but just bought the ZF. The reason why I left Nikon was the Z-line cameras and lenses are great, but they are basically mirrorless in DSLR bodies, big and heavy. ZF is big and heavy too, only bought it for nostalgic reason. ZF performs better than expected, especially made with the Vogtländer lens. Same all the metal material, retro look, classic images, and ZF has amazing object tracking, manual focusing. Unfortunately, it's not my travel choice. It's big, heavy, and too few compact size lenses. As you see across multiple videos, the topic will always occur regarding the size, the weight, ergonomics, and the lens choice. So that's the situation we have currently, a few months after the ZF release. And yeah, a matter of preference, and everyone has to decide for themselves. Next one is from Bobby Tonelli's video. The original ZF grip looks much better than the one from small rig. I didn't know that this would exist. Yeah, if you look at the Nikon grip, I personally like it optically. I don't know how it feels like, but it looks like it has the same material like the camera. And my guess is that Nikon is not able to produce in the masses for the whole world, and therefore they just produce it for Japan and pulled in small rig to get a company to provide for a complete world. But yeah, I would prefer the original grip. These comments are from Taylor Jackson's ZF videos. Unfortunately, he shot a wedding with the ZF with, I think the biggest lens setup was the 50mm 1.2 with the Ninja setup, and unfortunately he hurt his arm. Just check out his video to get more details. Is basically the comments from his videos. Those large lenses on the ZF, even with this small rig grip, feels like human rights violation. Nikon glass is just big, especially the zoom ones, or if they have big apertures. Next one also goes into the same direction. I shot a wedding with the ZF and Z8 this weekend. I used the 24 to 120 on the ZF, and I didn't have a harness. It would have been so hard to hold. The ZF held its own for the group photos and the detail shots, the Z8 for portraits. Still not a fan of the thin skin on my mouse screen, though so slippery. So if you don't know, if you order the Nikon ZF directly from Nikon, you're able to choose a color and have a customized ZF, so to say, and some material are a little bit different, and it's like that for this instant the mouse screen have a more slippery texture. And here also interesting, I almost ordered the ZF at the day it was announced. I have a Z8 and Z6 Mark II for weddings, but the autofocus on the Z8 has me avoiding my Z6 Mark II, so I thought a ZF may be a decent replacement for the Z6 Mark II. I already have a wrist issue from the Z8 80mm 1.2 combo, so the ZF is now a hard no. Thank you for this video. I can stop putting this camera in my basket and just wait for the Z6 Mark III. And here again, the topics is regarding ergonomics, and sure, you can argue that the ZF is a retro camera and it's not designed to use all these big Nikon lenses, but it's still a Z camera, and if you have Nikon glass in the Z system, you would like to use it on this camera. But yeah, as shown by these comments, putting a big lens on this camera, it's just not fun to use. And yeah, this comment summarizes the injury from Taylor. Oh no, after holding the ZF with the 50mm 1.2 for a moment, I can absolutely see this. Hope it gets better soon. So yeah, missing lenses for the Nikon ZF. And now the last one for today from Samra Streetlife. And this comment, I just laughed at it because it's somehow true. You finally experienced Sony-like autofocus. The Nikon ZF is like the baby of Sony and Fujifilm. Yeah, I can agree. The Sony autofocus is right now probably the market leader one, but in my opinion, you don't need always the best of the best autofocus. Other camera brands are doing also quite well right now, and the Nikon ZF shows that, since Fujifilm is also catching up. Yeah, this is just accurate, I would say. If you're still here, thank you very much for watching. You deserve the like. If you want to support my small little channel, check the affiliate links below in the description. I hope you enjoyed this kind of random video, but for me it was also just interesting to look at the comments from other ZF videos to see more opinions from the community. If you have something to add, just write a comment below. And if you want to check out the Nikon ZF black and white profiles, I made a POV video about this. Just click on it.